How do you feel about the current administration?
Well, how do you think I feel about the current administration? Is it coming across yet?
Well, tell us how you feel.
Yeah, how do you feel? Like you are conservative like this.
Because we've gotten no shit for criticizing.
Yeah, you had a very viral clip. I think what I'm the most disgusted by was the rhetorical use of a lot of principles which I really cared about. So like, let's say, for example, anti-war and Iran, right? And it's especially galling to have sat across the table from some of the people who are now currently in power who are pushing or excusing this type of behavior. And not only that, who are either silent or actively working behind the scenes and not stopping the obvious, like, look, I could call it a takeover, but that's why I have to come back to Trump has agency. Trump has agency. He's the one who's decided to embrace this neoconservative agenda to do all of this insane nonsense with Venezuela.
And hold him accountable for it.
And
don't chalk it up to the deep state. He's the guy in charge.
Exactly.
And then pin his ass.
He needs to be held. But it's also about the people around him, because
of course,
I now
them
know
too.
for a fact they're not. If you take your role seriously, then you actively work for that type of principle that you ran on and that you have literally sat across the table from me. And I'm not talking about one person. I'm talking about a lot of different people here who were like, we believe this, like the United States, we should not go to war with Iran. And so then to watch,
how comforting was that to hear for the first time in your life?
It's not about comfort. This was a project. I believed in this project. I worked, in many cases to try and assist this project, like in not the Trump campaign, but like I'm talking about the principles,
the
ideology, right? Like I have taken so much shit.
Endless wars.
I excised myself from professional Washington to go against, like, for the neoconservative agenda. Man, I got, basically professionally canceled over Israel. It's fine. I have my show. I get to hang out with you guys and stuff. Like, I don't care about that, but like there was a cost, man. Like there was a cost. And so then to have those people like come into power, and now we're on the brink of bombing Iran for literally no reason. After, by the way, not to derail this too much, didn't we bomb Iran so that we would never have to deal with the nuclear issue? So if we bombed it already to never have to deal with the nuclear issue, why are we currently on the brink of a potential war over the nuclear issue? Because I was told that the nuclear issue was solved during the 12-day war. Oh, that's
Can
interesting.
you tell us how it would be advantageous to the United States of America, and then we get back to Epstein, but to engage in a war with Iran? Why would that be politically, economically
it's not politically popular. Economically, it's another story. It's economically maybe, potentially useful for the United States to control the Straits of Hormuz, although I would argue that
Why would we end up controlling it?
Right. Well, of course, because this is about regime change. Like, ultimately, and really, you're saying the United States, there's really not that much in it for us. The United States,
that's why
for
I
the
don't
Middle
get
East,
it.
Yeah, well, there's a little country called Israel, for which this is actually a vital national security interest.
So they should handle it.
But let me explain this too. Well,
and
how can they? They can't handle shit. The one war they got into, they were getting their ass handed to them, with the United States basically shooting down half the missiles that were coming there. And downtown Tel Aviv portions of downtown Tel Aviv literally looked like London during the Blitz. Like, it was crazy.
So the question I keep going back to is, like, if you can explain to the American people why it's advantageous to us to do certain things, there's a version where they start to go, okay, now, I don't love the intervention stuff at all. I don't like the endless foreign rules. I hate it. I thought that was a seductive talking point, which now they've obviously flip-flopped on, like they flip-flop on everything they said, and it's fucking horrible. But, like, for example, with the Venezuela thing, which I don't love, but the American mind can go, wait a minute, we have oil gets cheaper, everything. Listen, the American mind is different. What you're doing is you're operating in, like, Washington brain.
You're right.
I'm talking about the American mind, and imagine, like, the propaganda system. We go, okay, oil is this much. Wait, now we have access to more oil. That's leverage and power in the world. Things potentially get cheaper here. This is how people can consume things, right?
Yeah.
Do we agree, yes or no?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
I don't see any strategic benefit for the United States of America in engaging in a prolonged war with Iran. Dude, if someone can explain it to me, that'd be lovely. It's crazy that they're not even trying to explain it. Like, that should be the most audacious part of this. They're not even bothering to give us a whole propaganda campaign. At least with the bullshit Iraq war, they had the fucking.
We can't let the smoking gun be a mushroom cloud.
Is that what
that was the line?
Yeah, or the war on terror, or whatever these things are. At least they gave us something like, you know what, we're going to at least trick the American people into thinking that they're the good guys.
What are they saying
Saddam
now?
had something to do with 9/11.
Exactly. They gave it this. They're not even doing it.
They're saying they have ballistic missiles now.
Right.
Okay,
can I explain that too?
They have
Let me
to
explain
disarm.
that too. Just so you guys know, the ballistic missile thing, let's just think about it. Who are the ballistic missiles a threat to? All right. Ballistic missiles are a threat to the United States only when they are intercontinental ballistic missiles.
And if they don't
Does
have
Iran have intercontinental ballistic missiles? No. Okay. They do have regional ballistic missiles, which are capable of hitting what? Israel. That's right. So that becomes the talking point about for a new deal with Iran. The only thing America has an interest in with Iran is the flow of oil through the Straits of Hormuz and the nuclear threat. That's it. And the Iranians are like, all right, you guys want to talk nuclear? Let's go. But then at the last minute, after Bibi Netanyahu comes in, we're like, oh, but by the way, we also talk about ballistic missiles. And they're like, no, we're not going to talk about ballistic missiles. And then all the front groups in Washington are like, they don't want to negotiate in good faith. They refuse to negotiate. Guys, let's just, and I'm not pro-Iran. I'm not pro-Islamic Republic. Let's think for a second.
Yeah, fuck the regime.
Okay, yeah, right.
They just murdered 40,000 people in protest.
Well, I don't know about the number, but the whole point is just like,
Were people
they murdered a lot of people,
Okay.
right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And now, with the help of Mossad and the United States also, yes, let's be honest about some of that. The story just broke. United States smuggled hundreds of Starlink terminals into Iran to help the protests. Literally, I mean, maybe thousands of Starlink terminals. The Mossad was literally bragging in Israeli press about how they were arming the Iranian protesters, right? So it's a little complicated, isn't it? But just to even come back from that, the point around the whole Iran question is that this is an Israeli problem.
So they should
This is
handle
an
it.
Israeli problem, but they can't handle it, as they proved in the 12-day war.
They shouldn't have that problem.
Only the United States can handle it. Even in the 12-day war, it takes the full force of the U.S. empire to make sure they don't get blown to shit, right? And this is the biggest problem. That even 12-day war, it took 25% of U.S. interceptors just for that 12 days. That was just to defend Israel. Now imagine if we have to start defending ourselves.
That's 25% of our entire
stockpile.
all around the world.
Our whole global stockpile.
Wait,
that
what?
interceptors, 25%. And if we get into a real conflict, we're fucked. That would mean we need to at least make sure if we're going to go all out, it needs to be for something truly vital for us. And this is not it. And the reason why they don't want you to pay
there's
attention,
nothing wrong
if you
for
start
having
learning
this
this ballistic
perspective.
missile stuff, you're going to go crazy. But that's why they don't want the American people engaged.
Yeah. And I don't think that there should be anything wrong with having this perspective. I think as an American, you're allowed to look out for the interest of your country and see why that would be.
I mean, they're going to call me an anti-Semitic just for that. I mean, literally, I will never forget the first time I was ever professionally called anti-Semitic was remember when the U.S. Israel bombed an Iranian embassy in Syria, which is crazy, right? They said it was an IRGC base. Okay, whatever. Every embassy in the world is a spycraft base, just so we're all clear. But so they bombed it, and then Iran fired missiles at them, right? And then America shot all of them down. And I said something like, modest proposal, the U.S. military should just shoot down stuff whenever it's attacking America. And everyone was like, look at this like disgusting display of anti-Semitism because we shot down the missiles that were going to Israel. Which they started it. No, did they not? Well, they bombed an embassy.
Well, to that I would say it's like, are you giving us forewarning that you're going to do that? Have we agreed with that action?
Right,
if you expect us to defend you,
what's in it for us?
Well, I think if the expectation is us to defend you, then we have to be aware and we have to sign off on whatever military action is going to require defense.
Yes.
And if you're operating with impunity there, but just expecting defense, then I think that might be taking advantage of the
Which is the
relationship.
way that they operate. From the Doha strike, I mean, that was so insane. The Qatar strike that happened, which this is a U.S. basically protectorate where you're just blowing people up with, I mean, who knows whether it was prior sanctioned or not.
But there's other countries in the region that also would want regime change with Iran.
Definitely. UAE, Saudi. I mean, even that kind of depends because they want regime change, but they don't want destabilization. Whereas Israel does want destabilization. They want the Syria model. They want it to basically be a collapsed state, a rump state where you can constantly
But that's just going to make it more dangerous to everybody around.
No, not really, because you're removing the bigger threat, which is the nuclear issue. They don't care about if it has destabilization and migrants and all of this other civil war like that. If anything, that benefits them because it takes out a regional competitor.
Why? Because that's
what happened to Syria.
Organization.
Yeah.
But there's so many American allies that want this to happen.
Well, I don't see. That's the thing. If you look at the reporting, at least what's happening behind the scenes, from what we've seen now so far, the Saudis and the U.S., like these people may hate the Iranians, they may be against Iran. They're not pushing whatever the current Israeli position is, which is
of course.
Decapitation strike.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we should do it the old-fashioned way. Send Kermit Roosevelt in.
Send Kermit Roosevelt in.
Throw some newspapers
Well, he did a
around.
great job, right? Yeah, he was very successful at his job.